Hi, I'm Dave Barnes.
And I'm John McLaughlin.
And welcome to Dadville.
Dadville is a podcast where we talk about life, love, and the pursuit of awesome dadding.
It's funny thoughts and deep talks.
So please, enjoy your time here in Dadville and enjoy this episode with Walker Hayes.
Dave.
John! Oh my gosh. Jeez, sorry.
Wow.
Whoa.
You okay?
Yeah, you scared me. I couldn't recognize you.
Yeah. Well, I'm wearing two masks.
Well, I was
today.
going to say, this is a tricky one.
Yeah.
Me knocking on your door, I should have known it was going to be you that answered.
Sure. It always is.
It is. It always is. That's on me. That's
now that you're here, though, I'm going to ask you to leave. But before that,
okay.
Question. What's the most awesome fair snack you've ever tried?
Oh, that's a good one. Okay, I know there's a lot of crazy ones out there.
Oh, boy, are there.
Got to stick with my home state of Mississippi, Hail State out there on this one, and say the free hot fluffy biscuits. It's a tradition, the biscuit booth. You get in line for your free biscuit, and it's always worth the wait.
I didn't know they gave out biscuits.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's in the name.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That would have been helpful when I was looking for houses years ago. All right. I like the simple route. I like that. And I'm going to go with the roasted corn on the cob from the Indiana State Fair.
You're going to shout it out.
Yep. Nobody does it better.
Okay.
I was listening to the Snack Show, with Jamie and Fallon, good friends of ours. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they did an entire podcast on fair snacks. I'm not going to spoil what their favorites were for you, but it was good.
Okay.
It was a good episode.
It sounds like quite the affair.
Come on.
Oh, yeah. Jamie and Fallon, as we call them, J&F, are the best snack analysts in the biz.
Yeah.
In the biz. Nobody.
It's just kind of known.
If you go, you can travel to Anchorage, Alaska and say, who are the best snack analysts? And they're going to say Jamie and Fallon.
Yeah, Jamie
now, I
and Fallon.
can't totally substantiate that claim, but it feels right when I say it.
Yeah.
They usually disagree on which ones. That keeps us interested. And they love to laugh almost as much as they love snacks.
That's
John.
right. Now, Jamie Crockett is a displaced West Coast girl living in Nashville, all landlocked.
Yep.
She enjoys a random pop culture trivia,
She does.
like the rest of us.
Yeah.
All things snacks and beverages and a good sleuthing mystery to solve.
Yeah, listen. Fallon Klug, is a Midwest girl making her way in the South by the way of New York City. The way to her heart is back scratches, leftovers, and snacks. Okay?
That's right.
Okay.
New 30-minute episodes of The Snack Show are released every Friday. Oreos, gluten-free, holiday snacks, fair snacks,
yes.
You name it, they're talking about it.
So listen and subscribe to the Snack Show podcast today. Okay, folks, you're here with us on Dadville, and today we have Walker Hayes, who I'm going to tell y'all, you can't see him. We get that. That's our honor. But he's coming in smoking hot with
Look,
the
I want to say,
stash.
if you're looking for a mustache and a jawline, you've come to the right podcast. Good Lord.
Y'all like, did you really appreciate the stat?
Yes.
I don't quite know how to groom it yet.
No, you don't need to. Look at it's a wild
That's the great
forest.
thing about mustaches. You don't have to groom them.
There's a tiny unicorn that lives in that thing. Okay? It's just...
I need to do that. Start just pulling random stuff every day for the fans.
And you give them away.
Put them in little baggies.
On the front row.
Mail
This
them
is
out.
For you.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy, this is for you.
Send them out to
So no.
people. I've loved the stash, man. It's fun.
Well, it's funny. So last night, our friend, two friends, Jeff Venable, who's a director here in town, video director, who's awesome, and our friend Matt Wirtz, we were all hanging last night. Both of them have stashes, like respectable stashes.
Yeah.
And I had the thought to myself, Venable was saying this, Jeff was like, at first it was like a thing, and then I sort of looked up and it was like, I've had this thing for like months now, and it's kind of gone past a thing. And I was like, this answers the question I've always had, which is like, when you look at pictures of your dad and you're like, he had like a stash for a while.
Yeah.
And you're like, how did he get there? And you're like, this is exactly how he got
what
there.
happened.
This is what happened.
Just one day he was messing around. He's got a board in life. And then he was in his low 40s, and he was like, I need some excitement. Kids, how about I shave this off?
Yeah. See, I don't know, guy. I'm going to push back on this.
Funny.
I think back in our dad's day, it was just like, if you didn't have one, other guys were like, hey, where's your mustache? What's going on? What's going on
Don't
at
come
home? Why
back
don't you
here. Don't come back here until
Don't you come back here.
Yeah. That's the first day I went to the gym with this mustache. kid I know. He's in high school. He plays basketball in Tullahoma, and he was like, "Man, you look like a PE coach from like an old movie." I was like,
"You're like,
like, that's exactly what I was
going for. You shut your mouth
for.
too. Thank you so much."
Yes. I was like, "So Uncle Rico is what you're telling me?"
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Dude, Uncle Rico. Shout out to Uncle Rico. Okay, so Walker's with us. We're excited about having you here, Walker. This has been a long time coming.
Yeah.
We do what's called the brag sheet. So this is a little bit of like, this is your life. So buckle up. First of all, I got to say this, dude. We have, and I haven't seen you in a long time, but I've known you. We wrote once in like 1987, it feels like.
I'm sorry.
Dude, it is like we wrote at this random place on Music Row that was like this little weird kind of hut house.
The Shack. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
And like I remember we kicked it, and I remember, being intimidated by your aura, your handsomeness, what I knew would be eventually a stash, but it wasn't there yet.
I was working on it.
We all were, but so it's funny because I've known you forever, but I don't see much of you. But it's funny. I was like, dude, this. I mean, I think we literally wrote. It probably was like 2008, like it was back in the day.
Yeah.
I think it may have been like what first or second ever write on Music Row was with you.
Well, you are. I think everybody has this human, and it's the guy that every single human you meet is like, you need to hang with this guy. You know what I'm saying? Where it happens to an annoying point where you're like, yeah, I know what you're about to say. You're about to say Dave Barnes. You're about to tell me how funny he is, and we would have such a good time. And you're like, and I would love him. I know.
You're like, guys, I test drove him in 2008. It wasn't happening. It just wasn't there.
But it really is. You are, I swear, man. If I had a guy just like that guy, where you're like, I know, you know it. Like people make a face and they're about to say something, and you're like, you can feel I know it's coming. It's like, Dave Barnes.
Like, Mom, I know why you called me. I know why you called me.
I just want you to.
You can have like 3 or 4 of those.
Yeah.
And be like, oh, I gotta meet this guy.
Yeah.
Once you hit 5, 6,
5 and 6,
7,
you're mad.
Then you're like,
you're mad.
I don't like this.
I hate this guy.
Well, it is, and I'm definitely. I mean, y'all could probably relate. I'm the guy that like. Dude, if you tell me how good the movie is, if too many people tell me,
right, you're out.
No, I'm not following that herd. And I wasn't like that about you, but that's how I've known you. I mean, literally, like, it's like the second day I got here, somebody was like, you need to meet Dave Barnes. He's amazing. And here we are 20 years later.
Yeah, it's fun. It's all been building to this.
It has.
That's what makes it so sweet.
I have listened to your stuff, and I've actually watched some of your comedy stuff. I mean, you're awesome, but dude,
don't do that.
I'm glad to be here. And I'm talking about a brag sheet, dude. I don't have.
Wait, you got to let me read it though. This is the problem, Walker. You got to be
quiet
and let me read it.
It's a brag index card or a brag fortune cookie.
Hey, it's still paper. You know what I mean? To an infant, it's huge. To an infant, it feels massive. Okay, so here we go. Released first single Pants in 2010, appeared on an episode of 19 Kids Accounting. I didn't know that. Debut album Reason to Rhyme was released in 2011. Boom was 2017. Country Stuff, the album, was 2022. You Broke Up With Me, which was a monster smash. First hit single, went double platinum. Nominated for Grammy in 2022 for Fancy Like. Won the Billboard Music Award for Top Country Song in 2022 for Fancy Like. Fancy Like has gone 6 times platinum. Good gracious. In 2020, this is really great also. In 2022, released his book, Glad You're Here, 2 Unlikely Friends Breaking Bread and Fences with Craig Allen Cooper, which, by the way, Annie Downs told us about, like, because Annie's a dear friend of ours, and just, she loves her podcast, she does so many of them, but I remember her coming over one afternoon, and we were like, hey, how's your day? She's like, I just had the best podcast with Walker Hayes. And Craig, and we talked about it. And which was notable to me because, again, she does 50 million of these things, but that was like one day she came in and she was like, no, it was, you guys got to read the book, it's great. And so then us even being enemies, I was like, we should probably have him on. So we're so glad you're on, man. Thanks for doing this,
dude. Thank y'all. Thanks for having me.
Can I kick things off with my first question here?
Kick it, Johnny.
Because I read that you are you grew up with 8 siblings, right? Tell me if I've got this right. So you grew up in a house where your mom had 4
Right.
She brought 4 in. Your dad brought 4 in.
Yeah.
And then they had you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's real that's info on the internet. Yeah. We,
I mean, what an interesting upbringing, right? To have that many siblings, but B,
does that make you like the chosen one?
Right.
Like, are you the thing they've been working on?
What's the dynamic like that?
I will tell you some of my siblings resent me, as if I was, because they're much older, much older. So, they weren't all in the house, obviously.
Oh yeah.
And so.
Wait, even so when you were born, were there some that had already left the house?
There were 3 in the house when I was very young. So including me, 4, and then quickly there were just 3, and then there was just me and a brother named Brian. And man, I have a lot of it's crazy. We're all over the map. A lot of us have struggled with addiction type of thing. I mean, it was it was a crazy household, and each family. As all family has stuff, they brought different stuff into the family, and when left, and yeah, man, I mean, it was such an interesting dynamic. I kind of feel like an only child of, honestly, I feel like I kind of was raised by grandparents, if that makes any sense. My parents were well in their 40s when they had me. And so, dude, I mean, we would go to restaurants, and my dad had this huge white Uncle Sam beard, and people would be like, you're having dinner with your granddad. And I'd be like, nah, that's homeboy's my dad. He did this. And
he did this.
But, it was, man, I had some good times. I had some bad times. Though it was, my dad was a retired music minister and dove into real estate, literally like right when I was born. And so I don't remember him as a music minister, but I remember him working all the time. He sold houses and he loved it. And that was his, dude, I'm 43. So I'm feeling that like temptation to, find that identity I can control, within work or whatever it is, and because you can't control your family or your wife or what, and
you can try, but
you could try, but you will fail. But the
you will fail.
and you won't get the applause or affirmation you need. We can talk about that later. But anyway, anyway, man, my honestly, it's I'm still trying to figure out that what was going on, growing up, and was I, am I an only child? My siblings are half. I get along with a few of them. I try to talk to all of them, as much as I can.
How old is the oldest one?
My oldest sibling is, I'm gonna guess, 68. His name is Ricky.
Louise.
Yeah, and
that's crazy.
That is a huge spread.
Oh, big gap. Yeah, and yeah. So when you're sitting around at Thanksgiving, and like I've got a Teddy Ruxpin, and he's got a wife. I'm like, hey man, how's your portfolio? I'm like, I don't know. I don't really know what to chat about.
I've got a Teddy Ruxpin, and he's got a wife.
Well, we've done 150 episodes or something like that, and finally Teddy Ruxpin has come up.
Yeah. He's like smoking a dart on the front porch, just, tell me about the, you in Transformers? What are you doing now?
Man, I wanted a Teddy Ruxpin so bad.
It wasn't unique. It was, I honestly, my wife and we talk about it all the time. I kind of we look back together. I met her when I was 17, so it wasn't that far removed from just whatever that was, but it was awesome, and it was weird.
And it was Mobile, Alabama.
Yeah, Mobile, Alabama. It's funny. I was talking to somebody yesterday, and I don't think you realize this when you're a kid, if like your dad doesn't travel or whatever. But I don't think I went further than like 3 miles for 18 years. You know what I mean? Like Laney lived a mile away. My church was legitimately across the street, and the library, and then there was the school, and it was like that. I walked to some friend's house, and the Colonel Dixie. It was like it wasn't like small town, Dixie. Like here goes a tractor, but it was like I just didn't go far,
Okay, she's originally from Eastern Pennsylvania, and she grew up a Philly fan.
Okay,
and who did Kansas City beat for the championship last season? Philly, exactly. So she's dating him to distract him. She's going to help Philly win it all this year.
See, I disagree. I think she's dating him so she can study the inner workings of the league as a whole, and in a few more years, she's going to own every single team stadium.
Okay.
She'll perform 10 concerts a year in every one of them, and all the parking, facility fees, popcorn sales, all be hers, right?
Yeah, okay.
And then she's going to build a new civilization on the moon
where friendship bracelets are the only currency and her lyrics the only words spoken. We obviously need a break, John. I mean, it's time for some coffee.
We were in deep. Yeah. Oh, coffee. Did you say coffee?
I did.
Well, Dave, today's episode and my morning cup of joe every morning is brought to you by, let's sing it together, okay? Methodical coffee.
Methodical Coffee has craft coffee and tea for people of all kinds, John. Roasted, blended, brewed, served, and perfected by verified coffee and tea nerds like my friend Johnny over there.
That's exactly right, Dave. And Methodical is not just the name of their business.
Nope.
It's their approach to everything. Methodical's been roasting and hosting for over 8 years and offers a wide selection of coffees and teas that are complex yet easygoing, like my buddy Dave Barnes over here.
DaveBarnes.com. But the best of Methodical's coffees is our signature Dadville blend.
That's right. Dave, the Dadville blend, it's the fuel that gets me going every morning. Filled with hints of chocolate, graham, brown sugar.
Yeah, and if you go to methodicalcoffee.com/Dadville, it takes you right to the Dadville signature blend. And don't you start to forget to enter our discount code.
Don't you dare.
Dadville.
You visit methodicalcoffee.com for more information and use the discount code DADVILLE for 10% off your first order. That's methodicalcoffee.com and use the discount code DADVILLE. Okay, so we're on the roller coaster.
Yeah.
On the way up that first hill,
I
hear the lady in front of me saying that she felt like sick to her stomach.
Oh, no.
Right. Then a few seconds later, we're screaming down that first
hill. Don't tell me, John. Don't tell me.
Yeah, it was horrible.
No, what happened to you?
Look, let's just say if I didn't have incredible world-class reflexes that I have, I'm doing them right now, right?
Wow.
I would have been in big trouble.
Yeah. That's why everyone should always carry a relief band, John.
Always. Relief band could have saved the day for that lady and for my reflexes.
Well, can I tell you something that's a fun fact?
Please.
This podcast is sponsored by Relief Band.
Yes.
Have you ever had to pull over because someone was car sick? Or maybe someone in your family wants to skip school or work because they're nauseous?
If that sounds familiar, you need a Relief Band, the #1 anti-nausea wristband that quickly relieves and effectively prevents nausea and vomiting associated with motion sickness, anxiety, migraines, hangovers, morning sickness, chemotherapy, and so much more.
Relief Band is natural, fast-acting, and will last as long as you need it. It's 100% drug-free, non-drowsy, and has 0 side effects.
Now, Dave, you know that I'm very conscious about what I put in my body, right?
Yeah, so not so much what you put on it, ironically.
And on it. So I love that I don't need to take any pills for Relief Band to work its magic.
That's right.
I use Relief Band when I get nauseous on planes, cars, pretty much anytime I feel it coming on.
Sometimes I put it on when I'm walking over. Relief Band has an A+ Better Business Bureau rating and has over 100,000 satisfied customers, so they are a brand you can trust. And Relief Band makes a great gift for the nausea sufferer in your life.
So if you always have a flashlight on hand for a blackout or a first aid kit on hand for emergencies, then you need a Relief Band for those unexpected nausea moments.
Right now, we've got an exclusive offer for Dadville listeners. If you go to reliefband.com and use promo code DADVILLE, you'll receive 20% off. But plus, John, plus free shipping.
That's insane.
We don't ask for what they give us, but they give it to us.
They just keep giving it. So head to reliefband.com. That's RELIEFBAND.com and use our promo code DADVILLE for 20% off plus free shipping.
You know, it's funny living in Nashville as we all do, and now there's like, you know, multi-million-dollar homes in these like planned and curated neighborhoods.
Yeah.
To have what you're describing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, it's all right here.
To create the town.
Just scrape together $6 million and you can have it.
Yeah. Scrape together. If you could just jump together.
Yeah.
An easy $6 million.
It's interesting that I have noted here that I wanted to ask about when your dad really encouraged you into music.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that he was a music minister. So that adds a whole other layer to it, that he had this music background.
Yeah.
That, as you said, like when you came along, for whatever reason, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was he felt like he needed more financial security. I don't know what, but he dives into real estate. And then the two of you are working together, right?
Yeah.
At the time that he pushed you into music.
Yes, sir. I mean, we were, you know, what I had gone on that collegiate, like, major change, job change. You know, what are you going to finish with a degree in? Like, what are you going to do with your life thing?
Where were you at school, by the way?
I finished up at UNC. I got a degree in music from Birmingham Southern, and
I didn't know that.
Emphasis on piano, right?
Yeah.
Dude, that's amazing. I didn't know that, Walker.
I mean, that was 20 years ago, and I have not read a piece of music since then. So,
but hold on, like I feel like we have to pause for a second because this is very uncommon for this town. Like, if I went to Music Row and had a mic and and I was everybody that walked out of a building that's a songwriter or an artist. Hey, like, what's your pedigree? I mean, 99.8% are going to be like, oh, dude, I just started writing in high school. There's not going to be some sense of like, oh, I actually kind of know what I'm doing.
No.
You can learn how to do it, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Did you feel like your emphasis on piano degree was something you had to hide from Nashville when you got here?
Yeah, I was embarrassed. I was like, man,
when people are like,
only
Walker,
charts.
you play piano? No, I don't. I don't even see pianos. What?
Never. Yeah.
So have you seen that? I mean, obviously that's been helpful, right? I mean,
I did the classical thing, man. I mean, my sophomore year, I didn't know what I was majoring in. I took a piano class, and I had messed around growing up a lot, and my dad had taught me just some basic stuff, and so I kind of took a recharge class with this incredible professor named William Devan, and dude, we just hit it. We hit it all. I know he's a stud, and so I just changed my major. But I went to UNC to finish my pre-dental requisites. Believe it or not. So yeah, I know. What if I walked in and was like,
all over
"Open
the
your
place,
mouth," I was lost. All my friends, my three best friends from high school to this day, they're all one's like an ENT surgeon, and two are dentists. And so I was feeling super insecure with my life choices. So I was like, dude, I'll go take this DAT and be rich. It'll be awesome, and I'll be amazing. And so I go and I shadow this oral surgeon. And I shadowed this guy, and listen, this guy, he has so much money, and his wife and his daughter, they're all beautiful, but he is legit the saddest, most unhappy human I have ever. I mean, this dude he just literally talks like this, like the whole time, and so I was like, man, I want to be this guy. So
even at that age, you were like, you onboarded that. You were like, oh, look at this guy.
Oh yeah,
this is not the move.
Totally.
Wow.
I went to work with this guy for a month, and what he did was kind of cool. But literally, his favorite thing in life was like this machine where you could, put implants and pictures of people and make their jaw and their face, And he was like, "Isn't that awesome? This is amazing," and I was like, I was like, this guy is lame, I was like, this guy is so sad, and he's got to do this for like 20 more years of his life. And so it just didn't make sense. Like the sacrifice for the life that honestly he had all his money and stuff, but he never got to use it. He was always at this computer, like, and so I went home, and my wife and I we have a cool love story, but that's kind of going on. And when I went home,
so are you married then?
No, I went back to Mobile.
Okay.
And I got my real estate license, and I worked with my dad for a year, just trying to make money, pay rent.
So it's a classic case of music into dentistry into real estate.
Yeah,
everybody's just a well-worn path.
It's a formula, you have it's X plus Y, equals real estate. Yeah, but guys, I didn't make any sense. I was just trying to stick out and fit in and all, just matter. And, but in the meantime, Lainey and I, we were always on and off again. And I knew I needed some stability. And honestly, it was like, dude, I know I could come home and I could sell a house. And I'd grown up in the back seat, in my dad's car, showing houses and stuff. Yeah. And look, I can talk, just hang with somebody until they decide to buy a home. So I was like, whatever. And honestly, I didn't hate it. It was a fun game. It was kind of addicting, honestly. Once you close one of those puppies, you're like, dude, let's do that again. Yeah. And so
I imagine that your dad was loving it. I mean, I'm just thinking of like, if my daughters grow up and we get to do anything together.
Yes.
I'm like, that's the dream.
I mean, honestly, and that, as you say that, I feel a little bit of a sting, because what my dad did, when he encouraged me to play music, I don't think he knew, but that's what I sacrificed. Like, if anybody's like, hey, what'd you sacrifice, to do what you do, it's really precious moments that I would have enjoyed. I would have enjoyed working with we had a very super competitive relationship, and I love that. That's my favorite, is like, and that's my relationship with my kids. It's like, you can't throw this ball in that cup, I mean, and that's what we do. That's how we say I love you, it's like, I'm about to beat you, and again and again and again. And so we were doing that. We did that with real estate. But dude, this is crazy. I mean, y'all, this sounds nuts, but one night, my dad called me from this bar in Mobile, and he just was like, he said, I heard you playing your guitar the other day. And all I did, I mean, I literally knew like 3 chords on the guitar. And my fingers still wouldn't like fully get to the G thing, And he was like, you need to play at this bar. And he was on his cell phone. And I could hear this lady, her name was Trudy, and she was the bar manager. And he was like, I know, Trudy. And he said, Trudy said you could play here on Friday night.
Oh, dang.
And man, I was furious. I was like, Dad, you don't get it. I was like, I don't just pick up the guitar. I was like, dude, I don't even know what to plug it into. Like, I've never even I don't even know how to make it sound good in a box with the speaker. I knew nothing. And he was like, nah, she said you could, come and just play the same few songs over and over. It's going to be awesome. It'll be fun. And, and you guys, I did the gig. I remember, I was so mad at my dad. I was like, look, dude, I'm getting kind of old. Like, I'm not like, drive me to Little League practice, force me to get on the field with my helmet. You know what I mean? I was like,
yeah.
I was like, I'm engaged. I got a wife, I got in-laws that probably want me to buckle down and make a little sense now.
Yeah.
And man, I did that gig. And I remember Trudy. I remember Trudy put her tray under her arm, and every time I finished the song, she clapped, and then it was like dominoes of 5 people,
Yeah.
And I was playing from a notebook. I had like a notebook with the words in it.
So is it only originals?
No.
Okay,
No, I didn't know.
What would have been a couple of songs in that repertoire?
Why Georgia? Little why Georgia.
Look at you. Okay.
That was
not an easy one.
Well, I was faking it. That was the hardest one. And then a little Dobie Gray. And then
come on.
Let's see.
Sitting on the dock of the bay.
Yeah. I also always sang. This is kind of cool. Is there's a song by Eric Clapton called "Promises," and I still sing. Me and my daughter sing that every night. And together, but. Man, they were just those old like Jimmy Buffett, Margaritaville. You know, that's a Mobile staple. But you guys, I just fumbled through this gig and I fell in freaking love. I was like, this is amazing. They gave me two. I remember I got 2 free Michelob Ultras because nobody drank those at that place. They're like, we got a ton of these, and I was like I'll take
these
them.
have been here since April, so you can have them.
It had, the whole Lance Armstrong ad hadn't happened or whatever, but they gave me 2 free Michelob Ultras, and I remember getting on my Nokia on the way home, and I called. I mean, this is crazy. I called Lainey, and I was like, hey. I think, I was like, let's move to Nashville, and I'm just going to sing. It sounds so stupid. I mean, there was no like promise from that gig. There was no like label exec in the crowd who was like, dude, you really need to think about moving to Nashville. And then the next week, Lainey lived in Birmingham, and the next week I had dinner with her parents just by herself in Mobile, and I told them, I was like, y'all about to laugh at me, but we're gonna move to Nashville. We're not gonna stay in Mobile. And man, you look like they were looking at a UFO flying in their backyard. I mean, they were like, why on earth? I remember her dad said, "Do you sing in front of people?" And I was like, "Not yet." I was like, but I'm going. I was like, that's what we're gonna do.
I love that so much.
I know.
That's a very practical question.
It was the most practical. It was legit. Like, do you know how?
Dadville is sponsored by BetterHelp.
Dave, question for you. Mm-hmm. Have you ever had a time in your life where you felt like you knew what was good for you, but your brain was just getting in the way?
I know exactly what you mean. I remember a time when I kept thinking, this is what I should be doing. I know this is what's best for me and my family, but something has just holding me back.
Yeah. I've been there too. I think most of us have. Yeah. One great way to make those difficult thoughts go away is to talk them through. Therapy gives you a place to do that, so you can get out of your negative thought cycles and start improving.
You couldn't be more right, John. Therapy is so helpful. It teaches coping skills, helps you set boundaries, empowers you to be the best version of yourself, and so many other things.
So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge.
Get a break from your thoughts with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/Dadville today to get 10% off your first month.
That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Dadville.
That's like one question away from him going, okay, would you just grab a guitar and play something for us right now? Just as a quick test drive. Yeah.
Pretty much. Which I'm sure.
The way that you write that in the book, the way that you describe the gig.
Oh, yeah.
It's such a great illustration for, I think, what is required in the music business.
1,000%.
I feel like it's like marriage. Like the people who are married in 40 years and the people who are in the music business in 40 years are the people who just have to be married to that person or have to do music.
Yeah.
Because the way you describe the scene, you do a great job of writing it out and like describing all the room and the slow clap and it's painful.
Yeah.
And then at the end you're like, and I was hooked.
And that's the thing. Right. That's the thing, isn't it? Is it like any bystanders in there, they're like, we should buy the kid a drink. What a rough night. And then like you just are just
even a Michelob Ultra would help the situation.
Just go get one from the back. Get one from Trudy. But it's like, but when you've got it in you, you get that little taste and you are like, oh my gosh.
I know.
It makes you move to Nashville. So did y'all get married after your move here?
No. So I sold real estate, and then as we were as we were creeping up on the wedding date, we came up and found an apartment and stuff. So we legitimately drove, our stuff from our wedding to the apartment we picked out. I remember I came up to Nashville 2 times, and we found a little apartment, and yeah, man, I mean, it was a blast. I mean, it was a blast, but it was hard. We didn't know anybody. This is like the formula is we moved here and we didn't know anybody. So just started learning this about who and trying to make friends organically, which is hard. Everybody was telling me about this Dave Barnes guy, and I was like, I'm tired of hearing about this Dave Barnes guy.
He has the keys to the kingdom.
Man, I don't know, man. Lainey and I are, we're not great. Like, y'all ever go to a job, and somebody be like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I don't know about y'all, but in my brain, I'm like, that's legit the stupidest question. Like, I don't know. I haven't been there yet. Like, a lot can happen, especially this business, you guys. Like, the day can change. I can wake up depressed. Totally. I'm like, I need drugs to get through life. But then by noon, I've written the best chorus of my life. And I'm like, dude, I am freaking Paul McCartney, and it's just, it changes. And so we just came here and just, again, I appreciate that description of what you have to, you just love, you're just like, this is what I want to do. I don't care if I'm homeless and we got 100 kids and we live in the back of an alley, you're just like, this is just, I just love this. I love this life, and it helped that it was good for us to get out of, the Truman Show, if you will, where we grew up, where nobody does this, and because it's fun. It's fun to come to Nashville because there's kindred spirits. None of us make sense here, and so it was a little easier to just fail in some aspects of life according to my hometown or my family. And Lainey was like, she's happy. I mean, Lainey is the happiest human. There's just so many times where I'm like, you sure you don't want me to make some more money, or are you sure you don't want to have another kid? Cause I don't know if we can pay for it, and she's like, it'll work out. She's just one of those people. And, man, we just had an adventure, and it's not, honestly, man, I mean, it's funny doing these, like a podcast with y'all. I mean, guys, 4 years ago, nobody would want parenting advice from me. I mean, I 4 years ago, we were coming home with a donut on our Nissan from Chuck E. Cheese with probably every disease kids can imagine we have, and I hadn't had a show in 400 days, and I didn't know what we were going to do, and so
it proves your point so well from earlier, Walker. Like you said, you said this a second ago, like coming here, you just don't know what can happen.
No.
And I mean, I think your career is such an amazing example of that because, I know you got signed early on. I mean, how long had you been here when you got signed?
I had a job as a booking agent. I actually got a cool job booking motivational speakers for a year.
Oh, wow.
And then I got fired. And then, and then I got a publishing deal, which was insane. I mean, dude, Landon, you get to call home and say, guess what I get paid to do? You're like, I just literally write songs on a notebook. Yeah. So, but it was 2 years. I got a pub deal. It's about 3 years. I got my first record deal, but man, that introduced me to like the pretty rough business side. I actually got dropped because of a kind of a label head. So this guy named James Stroud and Luke Lewis, I think was they split up at Mercury, and I literally got called by my A&R girl, Allison Jones, and she was like, I'm in the parking lot with a box of my things. You don't have a deal anymore. And it was like, whoa, yeah, that was fast. That was three years in. And then, but I still had a publisher. Honestly, that didn't like. I just love the writing more anyway. And so I was like, I'm good. And then I got picked up by Capitol about 5 years in, and that being dropped from there that's when it began to get bad. That was we're 7-8 years in. I get dropped by Capitol. It was kind of one of those man, I'm sick of this label. I would love to not be restricted by this label. And then you get dropped and you're like, what do I do now? And
restriction wasn't really all that
bad. Right. You're like, it's like, man, I think I would appreciate those gold handcuffs. But that's when I mean, we continued to have kids again. That it didn't make sense, but that's when I went to work at Costco. Drinking for me got really, really just bad, just regular. And again, I say it in the book. I mean, I was super high functional alcoholic. I mean, I was good at it, and this town is such we wrote a turd, let's celebrate. We wrote a hit, let's celebrate. My son's got a soccer game, let's put something in my cup. It's like it's just and so but the getting dropped from Capitol was really the first and the only time in my life I've ever kind of sat in my car by myself and been like, look, if it was just me, I wouldn't even think about it. I would just go pick up my guitar and write a song. But I'm beginning to drag my kids and my wife into situations that I need to take better care of them, I think, and part of that might be my love for music, my passion for just this whimsical, unconventional occupation, this love for this art could maybe be hurting my family. Like, I don't know if I'm being a better dad by being crazy, or will I be a better dad by just by showing my kids, hey, I can.
What a great question.
I can put this guitar down for you guys, and I really didn't know the answer. I know from the outside, people have all the right answers, but when you're sitting in that Honda, and your kid needs shoes, and you're like, but I got this idea, and I don't know, and you feel like you're being selfish, but maybe you're not, and you probably are. It's probably like a foot in both places, but that was some hard times, man. Those Costco mornings just kind of wrestling in my head. What am I being a good dad? That's always that's an annoying question, because most of the time I'm like, I'm not. So it's good that I ask myself that question so I could so I could correct, whatever I'm doing. But man, when you hold a little baby, I don't know, you just hold your little 2-year-old son's hand, and you just stop for a moment. You're like, wow, man, I had this kid for myself. Like, I was like, let's put an ornament on the tree. That's awesome. It looks just like me. And then you have a kid and you're like, no, that's his life. He didn't pick me,
dude,
to be his dad.
That is something I think about so much. And exactly that. And I think this to myself a lot when I'm making decisions about career. My kids shouldn't suffer for my dreams, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's an irresponsible thing for me to look at them in the eyes and be like, look, I know I had a part in bringing you into this earth, but now you have to suffer for things I want to achieve for myself. And, there's seasons for things, and there's small sacrifices. That's not what I mean. But I think you said it so well, and even John inferred this a little earlier, but it's like that line of your dream and what you feel called to do, like it's in you. When it rubs up against responsibility and real life and kids who are staring at you, that's such a weird line to walk, because do you want to put down everything and go get the job that pays the bills, but you have kids looking at you every day like that dentist, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're like, but hey, I'm being responsible. Or do you roll the dice every day going, look, I don't know how this is going to go, but I do feel alive and I love what I'm doing, but I don't know what next month's going to look like.
Right.
It's the responsibility dad part of that is just so tough to navigate.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
And and what a great segue into our need for a savior. It is just, I tell you what, man, having this whole thing you're talking about brings me to my knees, and that is, that's ultimately what made me figure out maybe I was longing for rescue, because you can't, you I don't care who you are, man. You can wake up with this manly list and this diligence in your heart, and you can look at parenting as just this thing that you're going to tackle, and you're going to do it, man. It's just in us to be like, we're going to do this. I don't care. And then literally by 9:30, I have effed it up so many times. And again, parenting is, I'm telling you, marriage is up there on the top 5 that'll draw you to Christ. But man, looking at your son after you've hurt him in some way or let him down or made him feel not confident or you've been inconsistent, that will bring you to your knees, and you just go, you look at this thing and you go, I love this thing. I love Chapel so much that I can't stand it, but I still screw up loving him. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then you have to just be like, help. Please, please, God. Please, God, rescue me from myself. Please rescue my son from me. Please rescue my wife from me. Good God, please give them mercy for me and forget,
So what was it like with the two way the questions I want to ask are, when that happens and you have this moment, which obviously you talk so much about in the book, this conversion moment, this changing moment, you're like, what happens, one, like in your career, because all of a sudden success is just around the bend, which is really interesting to me, right? Like,
so interesting. Yeah.
And then two, with your family, like, cause you've had kids that have grown up with you in 2 different iterations sort of now, so like, but it's interesting now to be on, this happens and all of a sudden it's like life is, how did it iterate in those two ways in your career and with your family and your wife?
Well, yeah, my wife just showed me a picture of my son imitating me the week I bought a Bible. My here's the interesting thing is me as an atheist alcoholic wasn't that much different. Christ is a huge difference in my life, but we were an American happy, dad always drove drunk family. I just hadn't got a DUI. It was like I loved my kids. I loved my wife. Wow. Completely drunk, poor, whatever. We were happy. We played red light, green light in the La Hacienda parking lot for 2 hours, till the place closed. And so what happened was we lost our 7th child, Oakley. And, I'm telling you, you guys can understand, as a man who's really kind of screwing up everything, like according to the outside, my family, Laney's family, we are a mess, but we don't care. We can shut those voices down and stay focused on our family and a dream. But when you lose a kid, as a dad who loves his kids furiously, you just feel like a failure. You just like you have let your wife suffer, you let your other children just suffer, and you've lost a kid. Like, you have not saved that kid's life. And you should be able to do that. I should be able to stop the moving train that's coming at my son or daughter. And so it was just this really just, and again, I don't know. I would have called myself an atheist, but I was screaming at somebody in the backyard,
Wow.
and so, but man, I just felt gross, and I just felt, I just had this, I believe it was the Holy Spirit kind of giving me an awareness of my shortcoming, like just being able to look in the mirror and see myself, like pretty nasty, I'm pretty, I got some, again, going back to the whole son thing. I love my family. I love my kids. Well, it doesn't look like it, I mean, when we lost Oakley, I was 2 years sober, and I drove to a bar in Franklin, and I went to this bar just to explode. I was going to find literally the biggest dude in 55 South and just pick a fight and get hammered, pick a fight. And I was like, I don't care if I get beat up or get arrested. I don't care. I'm going to just, and that was the day we buried Oakley, but I ended up not, my wallet wasn't in my door when I got there. So I drove home, and then I told Lainey, I was like, I'm so sorry. She was on the couch crying, and she helped me find an AA meeting, and that was a pivotal moment. But man, I bought a Bible one day. I walked into Barnes and Noble, Dave Barnes and Noble, and in Franklin. It's you know where this, everybody knows where this Barnes. It was in Cool Springs, and I pulled my hoodie over my head, and I bought this Bible, and I hid it in a bag, and man, I just began to read about all the idiots in the Bible, and then Jesus happens, in the Bible, and the whole Old Testament is kind of pointing towards this, the idiot after idiot after idiot, and then David, the big idiot, but he's after God's heart, and then Jesus happens, and you're like, the dude, the guy, this is
the dude.
This is a guy that say that all these idiots love God, but they couldn't be right with God, and this is what does it, like this is the rescue, and then I addressed my kids and my wife, and I was like, this is it, and then obviously Craig, my best friend Craig, has a huge, massive part in this story, because when I talk about my life, I just want to reiterate, it was so messy. Nobody had a reason to want to be near me. I was we were the family you distance yourself from, alcoholic dad. My car is nasty. We're sharing this car. All we do is have kids, and it doesn't make any sense. And there's no bright future on this earth. You don't look at me and you're like, hey, that'd be a good dude to have in my phone. I'd love that dude's number. I'm not that guy. But then this guy Craig, he has Christ in him. He sees my mess, and he's like, I'm gonna get nearer that dude. I'm gonna go to that dude's shows. I'm gonna let my kids learn the dirty words to his song. I'm gonna feed him. I'm gonna feed his family. I'm gonna give him the car out of my garage, because me and my wife are gonna pray about it, and I'm gonna give him this van. And when that happens to you guys, when you see Christ in a human, a broken, just normal human like that, you'll never be the same. When Christ happens to you, like, you just, and you can't ignore it, and a guy like me got to write a song about it, even though I can't really process, what's going on. But look, and that's, I guess, I'm not a details guy. I don't know the day that I bought that Bible. Let's see, COVID was what, 3 years ago? 19, was it 19?
20.
So early 20.
Early 20. Okay, so I'm a 3.5.
Tell me that you have a lot of kids without telling me.
I know, right? Cool. Yeah, right. Dude. But I'm a 3.5-year-old believer, and look, I'm not I'm not perfect, man. I just need Christ more and more every day. You know, that's what that looks like. You know, I think.
So what does your family look like after that happened? Like what starts to happen? Like with your kids, with your wife? What does that start to look like then?
So, you know, that was I started by telling you that picture, you know, that my wife, it was funny. Before then, my kids would walk around the yard and spit all the time because I was alcoholic and I always had a can of dip in my back pocket. And then literally a week later, my son's at the counter with his Bible and his head in his hand, and he's being like, Dad, you know. And no, you know, Lainey and I, obviously we began the process by attending a church called Redeeming Grace. I'm still not like, I think man can mess up like the experience of church, you know. So I'm like the song says, I still haven't figured out church, but I'm a huge fan of a community of believers. And then also, you know, just, you know, diving into the Word. We moved next door to Craig over COVID, and so we did COVID together. Yeah, and so, you know, my kids. I grew up in a Southern Baptist home, and so we kind of go about just the word religion is not a popular word in my house. You know, that's not what we are. We're not religious. I'm not all about the ritual, you know, side of things. I think those can become very appointmental and easy prideful play. You know, it's easy to get dressed up and look good and, you know, turn a religious gathering into a badge. You know, I do that. And I'm not saying everybody else does that. I'm just saying, you know, Dave, you got to understand. I know you understand this. Like, I'm weird about singing in church. I'm like, you know, in public, I'm always like, dude's listening. He knows I just hammered that note. You know what I mean? And I'm like, that's the grossest thing ever. You know? Right.
John and I both feel that way. We're both kind of like a little tentative.
It's insane. Yeah, you walk in, you're like, dude, sit around me because I'm gonna freaking belt these things, you know. And but I don't know, man. I mean, Lainey and I, you know, it's changed our marriage. You know, there's you know, that one of the best things for my marriage is just that realization, you know, what Christ does for us as individuals, you know, knowing our nasty and just, and trying to comprehend why he would just take all that, you know, and for us, knowing how big of an idiot I am, you know, and then it kind of doesn't give you the right to have expectations that maybe you did for the people you love, you know, and gives you mercy. And it's not me being Walker the Merciful, you know, it's Christ in me, you know, and
have your kids, like, are they old enough to have seen this? Like, are they, like, do you have any that are old enough that they're like, man, I remember like 3 or 4 years ago, Dad, and I really know this dad. Or are they still?
Oh, yeah. We call them, the big three are 17, 14, and 12.
Oh, yeah.
And, no, excuse me, 17, 16, and 14. And that's Leela, Chapel, and Baylor. And they have seen it all. I mean, they have, you know, they've gone to every nasty show. You know, they've seen not famous dad, like literally dad stocking strawberries, facing label execs that used to work with me. You know what I mean? They've seen alcoholic dad. They've seen just sober dad. They've seen how in sobriety dad. They've seen almost go back to rehab dad. They've seen atheist dad, don't talk about Jesus. Mom will tell you one thing, I'm gonna tell you the other thing, Dad. And now they've seen, they've seen I was wrong. You know, I do need a savior, Dad. And so, you know, I think, who knows, you know, I think every kid's going to need to go to therapy at some point in their life. And, sure. but I do think my older kids, they have a really special awareness to the brokenness this side of heaven, and with losing, with, you know, they're near death. You know, they've seen a dead baby, you know, that was their sibling, and they've buried a child. So they're not, they don't wake up every day with this, like, life is forever, we want to stay here forever. You know, we all talk about how life quickly makes you long for heaven, you know, and I don't want to sound like morbid or scare anybody here, but this place is tiring. You know, it's not enough. And that's the point, I think, you know, is that my eternal life began in Christ, you know, when I met Christ, and life. And again, you know, what's interesting, guys, is fame and millions of dollars have also taught us that, because it is a big letdown. You know,
well, so that's the thing that I that's the other part of this that fascinates me, man, is like, isn't it interesting that you didn't have that level of success? Because, you know, you'd had some success, but that level of success until after this happens in your life.
Yeah.
And you know, like, it's this massive song, and everything that you had come to Nashville is now happening. Yeah. But it's happening to a new iteration of you.
Yeah. Yeah, and what's funny is the most if you were like, hey, what's one of the most peaceful places on this earth you've been? It would have been when I had just become a believer. I was probably in my second time through the Bible, you know, just diving in the Word. COVID had ripped music out for money. You know, I could not even support my family making music, and we had just lost Oakley. We had just lost a kid, but man, we thrived right then. And then all this affirmation and this big hit came after that, and man, it tested. I mean, it tested my marriage. It tested me. It all of a sudden, you know, my hands were outstretched, just in complete, utter, just reliance on the Lord. And then my hands got filled with the world, you know. And then I began to feel my grip tighten, and all of a sudden be like, this feels good. I need more. And as I needed more, and I began to cling to it, I began to destroy, you know, my marriage, and I began to neglect my kids again. And I was like, I need you're like that genie in Aladdin, you know, and you're like, I'm the most powerful being. And then honestly, like I said, it was a great test, because when you get in your car, you know, as a dad, and you're sitting in the driveway, and you have all your dreams come true, and you never have to worry about money again, you still feel empty. And you're just like, and then you look at God, and you know He's laughing. He's like, I know. He's like, I know, man. I know. And He's like, oh, I freaking love you. That's funny, right? You did that thing where you went out and you did that thing, and now what do? You need me more. And it's like, I got you. He's like, I got hugs for days, and I'm here. And He's like, I want you to tell everybody this, and you know, and it's just, and it's okay. You know,
was there a point in that process where you felt that especially acutely, like where it was like you have your first, like, oh boy, first couple checks, and and you can feel like the, you know, I call it the Gollum, you know, your back starts to hunch, and you're like, my pretty, and you're like, you know, your voice gets higher, you know, but at some point you have a point where you're like, oh, like you said, like, oh boy, okay, I need to undo this thing. Like, was there a moment where you're kind of like, oh, I feel it happening?
Yeah, and honestly, you know, it doesn't. That's a great. Nobody's ever asked me this question. That's That's awesome. And I'll tell you when it was, man, is we're at the Grammys and I'll tell you this, man. I'll tell you what I've struggled with is making Jesus Christ my brand, or because we're sitting at the Grammys and we're about to go in and, like I'm in some suit that I don't belong in, some girl, Rob's wife, my manager's wife, God bless her. She's a stylist and she cares about clothes. And I'm like, dude, I hate clothes. But I'm in this suit and Lainey looks like $1 million, and I'm like, gather around everybody, let us pray. I'm just going to pray for us at the Grand. And it's such a douche move. I don't know why. It's not a douche move. The act of praying, it's not a douchey move, but I'm being a douche now. And so I get around and I'm like, and I feel like I meant it, I feel like I wanted this to be true, but I was like, win or lose, God, I just love you, and I don't know, I just didn't mean it. I don't know, I was performing or something. I don't know. Look, whatever. It's
hard to pray in a really nice suit. Everybody knows that.
Right.
The more expensive the suit,
the more BS it is.
The prayer doesn't go as high.
Yeah. So, but it just was, I don't know. Like I said, man, I was just performing. I was just doing the thing. And the Grammy thing comes up. And we're just high, man. I'm right. I can't get nothing wrong can happen. Every song I drop, it's like, and then we lose the Grammy, and I literally go from, hey, win or lose, God, you are all that matters, and then they say Chris Stapleton's name, and I'm like, what the fuck, I just am like. I'm like, this is bullshit. And
You're throwing Molotov cocktails around the
dude, I rip the suit. I tear the clothes off. We leave, Rob's sad. My whole team, look, look, we've lost a lot, I've lost a lot in life. I have. I'm so accustomed to losing but this one stung, because we were just close to that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Grammy. I'm a Grammy, and then Lainey.
Can I just say, as a side note here, real quick, as the only person in this conversation not Grammy nominated, I want to say from the outside, it doesn't even matter to me. I'm like, people just see the word Grammy. They don't hear winner or nominated. It's just to me, I'm like, if I ever got there, I'd be like, well, you're already there. You already won by being nominated. But it's interesting hearing people who were like, well, we lost the Grammy. To the rest of the world, it's like, I guess one of you has to technically win. But like,
yeah.
Well,
Grammy nominated.
Look, this is a great, this story is a great example of how, one of my superpowers is my insecurity, 100%. It's just... you don't even notice that, but that's all I noticed is I didn't win. You know what I'm saying? And that's right. That's something that Jesus that Jesus is healing and divorcing me from that stuff. That's a great thing about sanctification and just knowing the Lord is that stuff begins to not matter. And you think of yourself less. You start wondering, how does my buddy Dave Barnesfield, did he win a Grammy? And you're like, I'm thinking about somebody else.
By the way, he did not
but
win.
We go to, Lainey and I go to eat that night, and then the prayers became real because it became like we began to take inventory in the middle of, I can't remember what restaurant. It was probably like, it was just a chain restaurant in Vegas or wherever we were, and we just held hands at that table, man, and we just poured out the grossness, just that like, why does this hurt so much? Like, this Grammys can't take my soul. It can't take my salvation. It can't, it can't take me from you. It can't separate me from the almighty maker of all, and so that was a really precious moment. It was was a nasty day, but it was a great lesson. But Dave, to answer your question, that was the day where it was like, I have let the world, I'm in the desert, and the devil was like, you can have the world. And I was like, give it up. I'll take it.
Yeah.
He's like, let me finish this sentence first, though, man.
I was like, give it to me. Give me the Applebee's gold card. I want it all. I'm serious, and it was like, honestly, it like reminds me of Peter, when Jesus was like, he was like, I will never deny you. And then rooster crows and was like, my bad, bro.
My bad. Yeah. I won't do it 2 more times. That was the only one.
Yes, the girl.
Well, anytime that I see somebody, one of our friends, start having like meteoric success, even if it's just like one, they put a video out or something like that and something catches fire and goes viral, I always think about the next video. Because it's like you want to enjoy whatever little successes that we have in this music business in 2023. I mean, it's all lightning in a bottle. But that next post that doesn't get what that one got, it's all. I mean, it's that the come down off of it is so. It's like a reminder, like you're saying. It's like you have your thoughts on how you would hypothetically handle some situation of success,
right?
And then the day after the success, that's when like the true colors come out.
Sure.
And I wanted to like, given your success and how it came about, your explosion on TikTok, and given that you have a 17-year-old and a 16-year-old and a 14, all these kids, what's the relationship like? What's your relationship like with social media, and how do you kind of police that with your kids?
So none of my kids have it. I mean, you make fun of us, whatever. I just don't look.
Thank God for families like you guys.
Yeah. Well, look, I just know I am a grown man, and it affects me in ways that I don't. Honestly, I don't think the world would assume. Like the thing you just described. It's look. I'm just disclosing here. It is weird to me that a 43-year-old man will sit on a toilet till my legs fall asleep, looking for goodness on Instagram or reading comments that people say about my last trick shot or like that. To me, that is. Again, that's a moment where I think God looks at me and is just like, man, I love you. I just love you so much.
Like, look at this guy.
I know. He's, it's like me looking at my son picking his nose and eating his booger. It's like, I love you. I freaking love that. You're my boy, and it's just, and so look, all I'm trying to say is I know that socials are it's no laughing matter. It is. It can destroy a marriage, sitting there feeding off that, what it puts into my brain is rarely good. Even when I think I'm using it, when I say the word platform, it grosses me out. I believe that God wants me to remove myself from that concept altogether. Like, it's not about how big my stage is. Like, literally, if God wants to stick me on top of a mountain and say something, he will. But that's not how I don't look at my thing and go, God, you've given me 1.1 million followers and you would love me to impart this. No, God would love me just to walk down the street and talk to my neighbor, and so I guess what I'm trying to say is to me, socials, they're tough, and I try to do this. I don't do this all the time, but Ray Ortlund is a pastor that I don't know him, but he's a mentor of mine, if that makes any sense. But he described social. I really love following him, and it just seems loving. I just like what he puts out there, but. He described one day that he sees socials as like on the other side of this statement, there's someone who wants to end their life. how do I keep them here for a few more minutes? You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to raise above that. You know, I don't want to show another artist, look how big my crowd was tonight, even though I've done that. But I'm just saying, I don't want to belittle someone, and I don't want to bring him down. You know, I just want to say, hey, I'm here too. You here? Okay. You know what I mean? And I was like, that's an interesting way. Yes. And, and so, but as far as my kids, man, I try to keep them away. You know, my daughter's about to be 18 and she can do, you know, to me, that's the age of, it's all you, bro. I mean, you can go invent another social platform if you want to, but I try to teach my kids kind of how vicious it is. And
did she have any? You know, John and I were talking before we had you on. You know, because what's so sweet about what I love about, and I hate this word. I hate this word as much as I hate the word platform, because I'm with you. But the brand, the Walker Hayes brand, like the thing that I love so much about it, that's so compelling, is how much your kids are a part of it. That like, this isn't, you know, it's like, you're a very good looking dude. You could get on there and do cool stuff and rack up, you know, sing your songs and have it be this thing where it's like, you know, you could do that. But instead, you know, the dance was with your girl. This dance is with your kid. It's like, it's very not check me out, I'm cool and sexy. It's so much like, this is a familial fun thing. Right. So did she, like, with the kids, like, and especially with her, did she, like, because I mean, you know, that thing was, it popped off. Big. I mean, it was a big, right? Yeah. And it's not just the song, which also popped off massively. It, like, there are faces associated with it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Was there anything she had to walk through with that, or was there anything that was like tricky with? And I'm sure it's cool because she's rocking up to school and everybody's like, oh, you know, like, but which is fun. But you know, that, to your point, that can have a scorpion tail on it too.
Oh, totally. No. We've had to walk. You know, so Leela dances in the show. Like, she dances with three other pros, and she had to work really hard, you know, to kind of catch up to their level. But obviously, she got the opportunity because of who she is. But she's worked really hard. You know, all of us, including Leela especially, have had to fight that thing that goes to your head. You know what I mean? Because we literally went from, we go to Chick-fil-A and we're the annoying people. We're kind of loud. There's nuggets everywhere. The mess we leave is crazy. My youngest daughter probably has a snotty nose, and she's on the playground, you know, with your kid, and you're gonna get it. And it's like, so now we walk into a Chick-fil-A, and it's like, what? You know, it's like it's a meet and greet, and so we've had to navigate that.
NEAT for those who are listening.
But you know, But but you know, together we've really walked through all this, and that's a battle. Like, that's a blessing and a curse. Like, my family, we could probably do a follow doc, you know, that people would watch. They would just watch our family, and I don't know if that's healthy or not healthy. But as it pertains to Leela, you guys, I'm really honest with Leela. I mean, she's seen it all anyway. So, and I don't see that as like, I don't see that as me stealing her innocence or whatever. But, you know, I've shown her, like, hey, this is how bad it can get as far as feedback. You know, the things that you can see online. And this is the good stuff, and both of them are illness. You don't want to buy into the hype, and you don't want to listen to the negativity. You know, and so I'm trying to prepare her for socials and stuff. But honestly, Leela has walked through this better than I have. I mean, she's in cosmetology school. She's become aware of, like, you know, hey, this relationship, I'm pretty sure it began because of who I am, but it doesn't have to stay that way. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of happened too. She's quite a introvert. You know, she and I are a lot alike. We could tap out on social time, you know, and And so, but honestly, I think it has made my kids, it's given them, honestly, kind of a holy spiritual awareness of just kind of how the world works. You know, I mean, again, they saw the way people looked at our family and the way people look at our family now, and they know it's because of a silly song. And so I think they're kind of like, that's weird, you know?
Yeah.
I love my in-laws, and we have been through a lot together. And it sounds like I'm about to say something bad about them.
I was ready.
But look, they see us differently now. And I have discussed this with them. You know, you realize your love is conditionally based on this Applebee's song. That's weird, right? Like all of a sudden I was literally spawn of Satan, son-in-law you never want. And then I write an Applebee's song, and now the first thing you say when you meet someone is, guess who my son-in-law is? You know, and that's weird. And you know what? I do that too.
Yeah,
I do that too to people. And so, boom, what a nice shot of like, oh, humanity's broken? Nice. Yeah. I needed a reminder. That's, you know, does that make any sense? But
dude,
Leela is, psychologically, I feel like Leela is so much more mature after all that she has seen, you know? And and sometimes I feel, I'm like, did you have to grow up too fast, you know, because you had me as a dad, you know, like I was just kind of all over, like I'm another kid in the house most of the time, you know. I'm like, is that going to damage you later? But
it's like you said, I mean, we're damaging our kids.
Yes.
There's no way around
it. Yeah.
And I was thinking earlier when you were talking about your, you know, your journey to faith. I feel like when, you know, I think it's all kids go through when they leave the house and they go off to whatever they're doing. We all experience some period where we take ownership of, you know, maybe we grew up with our parents' religion or our parents' faith or whatever. And then you go through whatever that looks like, whether it's like running the complete other way or whatever. You got to like take your ownership of like, what's your faith?
Yeah, sorry. And I think, somebody called. I don't know what's going on. I heard you, but you were saying take ownership.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah, and I think that when your kids go through that, I think it's a gift that you've given them, that they have got this up close and personal, really honest example of somebody coming to faith, you know, through the ways that you went through it.
Well,
I think that's going to be a gift to them.
Oh, no doubt.
Through that journey.
No doubt. No, and what a grace too. I mean, I've been thinking as you talk, like what a
insane
grace of God to call you to Himself before this success. Because I mean, this for anybody. I don't care who you are. What you've walked through is just so, it's really amazing. And so it's like, you know, even the most screwed on heads, it's going to be like, oh, that's kind of nice.
Bro,
you know, much less someone who's already walking through, you know, what you're walking through before.
So many gold teeth right now. Like, and you know, I probably have kids all over the place, you know. I wouldn't even know my kid, but man, you're exactly. Well, hey, nothing wrong with hot tubs and gold teeth. I'm just saying that's where I would.
Teeth all over the place.
Look, you're exactly.
I was gonna say, man, shout out to the hot tubs and gold teeth. You know?
I can see the merch now.
That's a huge part of our.
I was gonna say, big demo.
I am grateful for what I've seen my kids see. You know, I feel like they have. I feel like they have not grown up in. Hey, let's pretty this picture up. Said. Let's just see humanity for what it is and go. Geez, man, thank God there's a rescue for and it's not from. Yeah. It's not from these bad people over here. These people with gold teeth and hot tubs. You know, it's just it's rescue from right here. You know, it's from myself, and because I think that's one thing that is a gift. You know, that I mean, I tell my kids Leela's at an incredible age where I have to continually go, she wants my opinion, with college or with a boyfriend or whatever. And I go, I could easily answer you, but my opinion is going to be manipulative. It can't not be. I sadly have an idea of where I would like you to go, but I want you just to do it. Cause
right.
Yeah. Well, dude, is there any greater compliment to parenting? I mean, that she, for what she's seen in you and what she's seen in you after conversion, all the things that God is doing in your life now, that she would come. If you want to know how you're parenting, it's that your daughter comes to you and asks for your opinion. I mean, that's a great litmus paper test. You know what I mean? It's not. She's not rolling her eyes like, "Oh boy, Dad's gonna have a hot take on this." She's coming to you. I mean, that's a huge compliment, man. That says so much about.
And going back to what you said about the dance, man. I mean, she and I have already talked about it. I'm like, I tell Leela, man, I'm like, Lord willing, we're at a hospital one day and a baby comes out of you and I get to hold it and I get to look at you and then look at your baby. I'm going to lose my freaking mind. And then I'm like, and then if it grows up and Lord willing, we teach it that stupid dance, it's going to be, I'm going to erupt. I might actually have a heart attack with joy and be like, I can't believe we made it to this, and then I'm like, dude, if I'm alive and he or she gets married and we do it at the freaking wedding, I'm like, can you imagine? I know. I'm like, I know. I'm like, who gets to do that with their daughter? I mean, and I do, man. I'm telling you, I look at her 10 or 12 times at least a night on stage, and the crowd might as well not be there. I'm just like, man, I am standing at this Idaho State Fair, with my daughter, just being an idiot on stage, and I'm getting paid to freaking do it. And we're, if I die tonight, this is badass. Like, this is just bad. Like, it's so fun.
Yeah, it's the best.
Man, I love it. I appreciate you guys.
Well, dude, listen, we have taken so much of your time. This is so fun. We have I know because you got somebody right now that's just like,
let's go.
We have this course. We got to finish this thing. Okay, so speed round. This is how we're in this thing. Okay, buckle up because here we go. I'm gonna go first.
Craig,
if the whole world could stop and listen to one of your songs.
Yeah, dude.
Which song would it be?
Craig.
Dang, you were ready. You've done the speed round before.
Right. Couldn't even finish it.
We prepared for the speed.
We were ill prepared for the speed ourselves.
Second question. If you had to pick, this one's going to be tougher, I guarantee. If you had to pick one facial hair configuration for the rest of your life, what would it be? You got to go with the mustache. You got to go with the beard. You got to go with the Fu Manchu, whatever.
I think based on maintenance, from what I've learned, just what requires the least upkeep is just shave it all. The beard. Okay. The beard gets out of hand and clean. And the mustache, golly, it's like you gotta get really meticulous. And then you accidentally nip one side and you gotta nip the other
one in before you know it. It's
crazy. Yeah.
Okay, third question, and there's 4. If you had to pick another decade, I love this question. If you had to pick another decade in the last 100 years to live as a musician, which decade would you choose?
I mean, that's easy. I mean, I think 90s.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think 90s for 2 reasons. One, I just love, like, it's probably just because I was at that magic age, but like the alt, Verb Pipe, Sister Hazel, Matchbox 20, like that rock scene. I mean, holy smokes, man.
Yeah,
like,
what's happening?
God, it was so cool. And then also, dude, I feel like you could have an album cut and feed your family on a 90s record. Like a country song. Yeah. And so I think for those 2 reasons,
that's
I picked
good.
the 90s. Yeah.
Well done. Well
That's a good answer. Last question here. If you wrote a book about being a dad, what would the title be?
Have mercy on your soul. God, I mean, it'd be like something like you're about to screw it all up. It'd be like, it would be something to the effect like you're about to, like everything you think you know about being a dad You don't. I don't know.
That's a great title. That is a great title.
I don't know. Yeah. I mean,
that is a great title. Everything you think you know about being a dad, you don't.
I'd read that book. Either. I'd read that book right now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I like the end, and I don't either. And then it's just a blank book. It's got a sick cover, but it's like then there's maybe a line that's like, write all your screw ups in here. You know?
That's amazing.
It's just a journal.
It is.
Thank you so much for your time. What a joy to be with you.
Great.
So love what you're doing in the world. It's beautiful.
Hey, back
stuff,
at you. It's really. This really was cool. I'm not just saying that. So thanks for hanging and let me talk about real stuff. And
we loved it.
And let's do it again sometime. Sounds good.
Enemies can come together after all. It's beautiful.
Come on, there we go. I'll have to tell 100 people. I finally got to.
I met him. We did the podcast.
I know.